Hello and welcome to Let's Decorate Lijiang Tower, the map you will never see Symmetra on. With me is Trigger Harvey and I am your comrade, Real Soviet Bear. Hello.
Hey!
Okay, so stop doing that. So this is a King of the Hill map, which means that people don't play Symmetra or Toblerone and rarely Bastion. That's usually the rules, but we don't live by the rules here on this channel. Okay, so how you play on King of the Hill maps is much different from playing on normal maps, because you're always in attack and both sides are in attack, so you're actually only defending the same point. So what we will do is, let's first talk about defending one side of the point, because they mirror each other, so they have the same layout. So what you want to do generally is get to this point, and before you enter, if there are people inside, you can always set a few turrets like so on the window frames, as well as setting a few here or here to get people coming out who are trying to kill you. Now, nothing you set on this map will have a long lifespan, so until you actually bunker in, so until you clear the point, you will probably be focusing on shooting orbs to break Reinhardt barriers, or just like generally grouped up enemies. After you've kinda able to set up on the point, you'll probably want to set some turrets here, here, and here. And again, like because the map is mirrored, the same applies. You can set. You generally don't want to set them on the window frame if you're defending. If you already hold a point, it's kind of a good idea to do it if you don't have the point, so if you can set something before you enter. But if you're already in, you can set them here, because then people won't be able to shoot them as easily from outside until they're like already here. They won't be able to shoot them from like, say here, which they would if you had set it like lower possibly. So it's very straightforward. The part here is, I don't generally set turrets here because there's usually a Pharah and she can just break them, but you can do, say, stuff like this, just because there's a mini health back here. If you're guarding points, you can also do stuff like set turrets here just to attack anyone going in from the enemy side. No, actually I see something now which I've never tested. What would that be? There's a little gap here that might be from the garden. Does that reach the other side? Can you go to the other side of the wall? I want to see if that reaches you. Does it reach you?
Nope, perfectly safe the whole way around. I wonder what it might do to a Pharah though. Let me just go and swap to a flyer.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, it doesn't reach you because there's a little wall there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it might irritate a Pharah again.
Possibly. Yeah, there's no actual way to capitalize on this, although you could set here, although it's very visible, so I wouldn't recommend it. That's a weird spot, I never noticed it. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Okay, so all 3 reached you at one point. And don't destroy them yet, just show me where you were moving. So you were moving above the wall, right? Just taking a shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, oh, okay, and you can't actually see the other 2. Yeah, okay. So the first 2 can actually, if somebody's jumping over the wall, mess them up a bit. That's good to know. It's a very weird spot.
That's actually a pretty good spot.
Yeah, like it's very good to know some of these jumping over the wall. That's really good. Other than that, though, generally the same applies as with any Symmetra turret. Try setting it so it's visible from as few parts as possible, but of course, because this is a King of the Hill map, it's kind of open all the way. If you have a Mei, you might want a little boost so you can have those 2 windows covered, because that's popular for Reapers getting ready to drop down, and Pharahs who want to do death from above. So other than that, well, things that may happen when you're pushing on this map. You might get pushed back and this might turn into a choke point. I've had that happen several times. In which case the same applies as when you're playing an attack, which is you set turrets to kind of like push your perimeter after you push people back a little. So that's as far as turrets go on this map. As far as teleporters go, I only ever set them in 2 spots. I set teleporters here when the choke point there is too hectic. It's kind of like a safe spot, like enemies rarely get there, and it saves you at least sometimes. So that's kind of like the safest bet. For the on-point ones, it really depends on what your enemy has. I generally set my teleporter hereabouts. If you set it here, that means they can't hit it from that point over there. Okay, there. That means they can't hit from that point over there because it's not visible. So the only point they can actually hit it from, they can't even hit it from the door. Actually, they can hit from like here with AoE attacks, but generally they won't see it. So the only spot they will actually see it reliably from is here, and you know, just generally going here. And that's good, like, to reinforce when the battle isn't going your way. Of course, you can also set some turrets here in the bushes, as per usual. I wouldn't set them in these bushes, that's easy to kind of spot. Basically, if you get them on these 2, you'll cover both exits. Maybe if you're feeling cheeky and you have cleared the point, you can always do this, because again, if they're coming from that side, they will definitely go through it. Here, I don't have much experience like people going through here. I guess you can, like, the same applies. You can set it always here, but again, it's not a guaranteed spot that people will pass, mostly because, you know, this, like, they might just, like, take the shorter route and go through here, which means they'll never get to that one. You can set it here, for example. That would cover them. And again, if you somehow manage to push them all the way here,
My sentry was destroyed.
I don't really know where you can basically just set it here, essentially.
Sentry turret placed.
Yeah, that's this map. This map is not really Symmetra friendly in general. Of the 3, it's probably the least Symmetra friendly one. Anything you would add, GD?
No, not really. It's not really a Symmetra friendly map. It's not a map you see it a lot. I mean, you do see it. It's mostly what I've seen is just people turning in here up like crazy.
Yeah, and again, the risk is because this point is so enclosed, one diva thing will just clear out all your turrets. Yeah, let's go to the next
Yeah,
map.
more or less. Let's move on.
Okay, here we are at the second map. Because custom gates are a hassle to set up properly. Anyway, this one is a bit more Symmetra friendly because there are a lot more points for turrets and for teleporters. Why is there a chair here? I've heard there always been chairs here. Okay, never mind. So anyway, what you want to do is, generally you can set turrets here, because, you know, enemies are coming from there, but also they're coming from there. So you can set it like on this kind of angle to make it work. A lot of things I generally don't recommend can be useful here, like setting turrets on eye level, just for like some damage. Same as well here. You can also set up some stuff either here, and after you've pushed back the enemy, you can also set it. Oh crap! I need to wait for my things to respawn. After you've pushed people back a bit, you can also set it here as well, so that'll just like cover the exit. I don't think it'll cover the entire one, but it'll cover at least half of it. Yeah, you can do this. So basically depends on how far you're pushing back the enemy. But you generally want, when you push them back enough, you just want to get entrenched here. That also means...
Yeah, pretty much.
Turrets here. Turrets up there, which I can't reach right now and show off. Here, I don't really set... I set them sometimes here, like I don't make it a habit. Let's actually just see if this is reachable. With a May, perhaps. Do it like this angle. but we'll still see it, yeah. So if you have a May, you might want to get it like all the way up a bit. Again, you can set it here because it's a popular point to go through. And those are generally the things I do. I don't bother setting it outside as much. Actually, I should probably capture the objective so we don't run out of time.
I am at the objective. We must take it quickly.
Okay, so outside of here, if you're expecting a flanker, you can set them on the pillars, just to warn people. And also if you're expecting people to climb up here, you can again set this here, which is from their side, and then when they pass, they should be hit by it. So that's that part. As far as teleporters go, there are a few ways you can go about it. There is a very obvious one you can use, which will probably get, you know, destroyed eventually, especially if there's a Pharah. Because like this point is pretty popular for people to come up and just pick you off from above. I generally set it here. Now here's a trade-off. If you set it here in the corner, people like Pharah that fly from here can screw it up. But if you set it here, people walking normally here can screw it up. So it's basically you trying to assess the situation where you want your teleporter. And once you've set the teleporter, I recommend setting turrets like in this line here, because that means it's not visible from outside because of this pillar, and this side here because it means it's not visible from that side because of this pillar. That's one teleporter spot. The other teleporter spot I do, the other teleporter spot I usually do is here, and I can get a lot of usage out of it because people don't stray that far on the outside when they're attacking you, so it doesn't get you behind the lines, behind enemy lines, but it gets you a lot of time saved. Anything else I'm missing?
Not really.
Okay then.
I mean, the control point maps are pretty simple in terms of like what you want to do, and they're all quite similar because they all have similar layouts, really.
Yeah, because they just like mirror each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can leave now so we can move to the next map.
Alright, let's move on.
Okay, and here we are at the third map.
Alright, let's go.
Okay, so pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go with the actual point first before we do anything else. So while you're getting to the point, the only turret you might want to set is like either here to stop people from approaching behind, or here if you're expecting people to try and push people who die and respawn. Aside from that, this is very Symmetra friendly. You can set turrets basically at this side of the entrance and just cover all points. If you place them on pillars, they double for both the entrance and the window. You can also, of course, set them up here, and again it kind of varies because if you set them here, they help against this approach, and if you set them on the other side, they help against this approach because people won't see them from a distance. So from that, I don't make it a habit to set it outside, because like if you set it here, like in theory you would like protect this approach, but people will see it from all the way over there, so there's like not much of a point. You may want to set it like here because that's a bit, you can't shoot that really easily from a distance. I think you can shoot from the actual point, but not before you approach it. Here I don't really go about setting it too much if I'm expecting people to come over. Like, for example, I know a lot of tracers and stuff likes to jump over here to kill you if you're hanging around with friends. So in that case, I do set like this up. So I can kind of have a better chance of killing her. Don't go deeper than that.
So your flank tracers, your Genjis tend to come from, so...
Yeah, I don't tend to go deeper to like, I don't do like the aggressive thing of intercepting approaches, just because usually it's very busy on this map, you don't have that much time for it. If you were to have time, I would recommend like a turret here abouts, because then it covers the upper and the lower floor. you could technically do it here, although anyone who sees it from over there will be able to break it without much hassle. But again, it depends a lot on the situations, because generally it's just like a game of ebb and flow when you're playing on these maps. This approach you can always fortify, so you can always set stuff here. You can set stuff here as well. Of course, people sometimes use this as kind of like a safer approach because of the walls, and if you expect them to come here, you know, just set something like this.
Yeah.
As for
And this is, like, through this way is a route that I tend to take if I'm flanking. So, like, if I'm on the...
Yeah, like that.
I'll come across that way.
Actually, before you do that, let me check something. Okay, try passing now. Yep, it does actually reach you. Okay, cool. So there's another thing to know. Especially because on that end, you can't actually see it before you're jumping over. But again, like,
Exactly.
the opportunities you will get for something like that are very, very limited. As far as teleporters go, so here is, like, here's the less obvious, well, it's both less and more obvious, because if you set here, people won't see it unless they're flanking, so it's a good teleporter if people are defending the point, like if you don't have it, because then they don't have much reason to go through the actual house.
I mean, this building in general is pretty underutilized.
Yeah, but like if you're if you own the point and the enemy doesn't, they'll have more reason to go through it, so it's more chance they'll see it. But if they hold the point, they probably won't come here, so you can set it there. Like, I've had full teams use up the teleporter without anyone noticing. Another spot that I like with the teleporter, which is the one I use the most, but that means it's also like pretty popular in general, is here, because it's a really nice balance of saving time and reverse and being far away enough to not be obvious. So like here, basically where the turret now is, that's where I would set my TP. And those are basically the only 2 points I actually use. It gets pretty chaotic unless you have like a tracer patrolling everything around. You can get away with like a lot of King of the Hill teleporters. I'd say never put it in plain sight like here, like that's a bit mad, as well as here again because this path is super utilized. Yeah, but you know, that house is fair game, that house way over there is fair game, and again, if it's overtime, anything is fair game. Like if it's overtime, you can get away with setting it here. Because, funnily enough, like, it'll not be seen under a certain angle from that point, but if it's not overtime, people will be patrolling, looking around, and they'll destroy it. But if it's overtime, everybody's on the point.
I mean, you can get away with a lot of risky shit in overtime because people are more focused on the point.
Yeah, exactly. Never set turrets below this. Oh no, it actually doesn't go below? It looked like it would. Let me check that again.
Turret was destroyed.
Nope, it actually doesn't go below even if it says it does. Okay. But yeah, that is basically really it. I don't think, yeah, you can't reach any teleporters, any turrets from here. It's too wide of a gap. But yeah, that's generally all you can do on King of the Hill. It's not like Symmetra doesn't really shine too much on them, but the Reinforcer teleporter helps a lot, and she sets up faster than Total Run, so you can fortify a point easier, but again, if it's all destroyed, that's a lot of work undone.
Pretty much.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Not really. Again, the control point maps, they're pretty similar. And in terms of like symmetry play, it's pretty simple compared to like payloads or capture points.
Yeah. Oh, cool then. Oh, you piece of shit.